Good evening. My name is Lauren Palmer. I'm a local educator and a recent college graduate from the University of Vermont. I'm here to share my reflections on the COVID-19 response as a college student between 2020 and 2023. I'm also the founding author of a student letter signed by over 1,000 students, professors, and concerned citizens about the harms of the COVID-19 response. Before transferring to UVM, I studied at St. Michael's College during the 2020-2021 school year. Despite mask and social distance mandates, I actually loved my time at St. Mike's and found a community of caring peers and professors. All that changed during the vaccine rollout halfway through the year. I did not feel comfortable taking the vaccine and was granted an exemption, but the hope I felt in receiving an exemption was quickly crushed. Special regulations for unvaccinated students required me to test and mask, even when these requirements were dropped for vaccinated individuals. My vaccine status was disclosed to the supervisor of my summer job without my consent, so that he ensured I was regulation compliant. I was later denied opportunities for summer housing and social activities. Other students I knew around the country lost hard-earned scholarships, hospital visits with loved ones, medical autonomy and privacy, internships, relationships with peers and professors, and their place as students at their chosen school. Most of these mandates were illogical, including requirements to get vaccinated, even for solely online classes. Worst of all for me was the quiet withdrawal of those around me, and how quickly those I had trusted turned away. I wrote a number of letters to the administration at St. Mike's and received nothing but a "thank you for your communication" email in return. The school simply turned away in silence and without discussion. I had to deal with that loss of trust for years after, often suffering PTSD-like symptoms during my time at UVM and beyond. I would get dizzy and found it hard to breathe under bright classroom lighting or when in rooms or hallways reminiscent of St. Mike's. I did not feel safe in crowds. Cramped spaces felt like being back in a mask 24/7, hidden and unable to escape. I think it's easy to say that all that is behind us now, but it isn't just about COVID anymore. COVID was only the manifestation of a greater sickness plaguing our time. Namely, it revealed the failing state of our rights and our humanity, those two things which exist most importantly for times of hardship. Because if in times of hardship our rights and humanity fail, it is not because they miraculously gave way. It is because the strength we thought they had did not exist to begin with. If our right to freedom had been strong during COVID, we would not have been threatened into lockdowns and masks. If our humanity had been strong, the majority would not have been led to believe that it is okay to view and treat any part of its neighbors as less than human, even for the good of the many. One of the most powerful moments in my college experience was during a class on modern Chinese history at UVM. While we were discussing the Cultural Revolution, my professor displayed a black and white image of a teacher who had been arrested by his students for being a, quote, capitalist intellectual. They had thrown him up on a wooden pedestal and forced a paper cone hat on his head, which proclaimed his crimes. He was in the middle of the picture on his knees with his head down, wearing his cone hat, and his students surrounded him, cursing and preparing to beat him. My own professor asked the class as we looked at the picture, "Would you have followed the crowd or would you have been able to resist?" Without fail, everyone in my class agreed that they would have recognized how terrible it was and resisted. And yet during COVID, most of them had complied willingly with forced mandates, celebrated policies restricting their rights and the rights of others, and participated, whether publicly or privately, in condemning the unvaccinated. The worst and most heartbreaking part was that my classmates' response was the same as what Chinese students involved in the revolution said in interviews years later. They didn't realize what they were doing. So if the years of COVID-19 and events like COVID should teach us anything, it's that our humanity only remains strong as long as we, as individuals first, can see clearly. And seeing clearly requires us to walk with a posture of surrender and compassion, even in our fears and especially in our convictions. The worst events in history have happened because good people were led to believe that it is okay to treat and view some of its neighbors as less than human for the good of the many. And unless we catch ourselves in this act and not after, we too will be caught up in the fervor of our times. As technology continues to separate us from reality, as social media deprives us of true community, as AI tests what it is that makes us human, I hope these lessons of COVID-19 become a warning and a beacon. If we do not have the courage to sit with discomfort, to accept pain, to walk with surrender, to suffer difficulties, to imagine, and to think, both critically and unflinchingly, then we have lost our ability to be human. And if we do not fundamentally and profoundly treat each other with respect and with love, no matter the situation, however dire or uncomfortable, we are no longer human. Thank you.